1911 style, low bore axis, striker fire. Let's see if the hype is real. Sunday GUNDAY. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things, and today we're taking a look at a classic that has been brought into the 21st century. This gun has actually been around for a while, but I never had a chance to fire it until yesterday to determine if all of the hype was worth it for myself. Now we are going to find out by taking a look at the H9 from Hudson Manufacturing. The Hudson H9 is one gun that I can confidently describe as a cutting-edge design and an excellent example of a modern firearm, a 1911 of the future, if you will. Taking a lot of design inspiration from the 1911, the H9 features an all-steel frame with a black finish and a straight pull trigger, which I am definitely a fan of. The frame has interchangeable G10 grip panels and an accessory rail for aftermarket lights or lasers. One of the main selling points of this gun is found in the unconventional nose of the pistol, allowing for the barrel and recoil spring to sit drastically lower and closer to your hand. This, coupled with its striker fire design, creates an extremely low bore axis, which should mitigate a lot of muzzle rise and keep this thing shooting flat, shot after shot. This model includes a serrated blacked out rear sight, orange and tritium front post, well, it was orange, you guys will see what happened there in a bit, and 3 15-round double stack magazines in 9mm. The whole package can currently be found at around the $900 mark, and before I shot this, I believe that the price point was justified when just holding it in my hand and getting a feel for all its modernized features, but does that still stand true? So we have this very cool, sleek looking design of a basically modernized 1911, and I'm very excited to give you guys my opinions on it because I have a lot of them. So let's roll the clip of my first mag, and then I will come back and give you guys my first mag impression. Alright guys, back for my first mag impression on the H9. Typically I like starting from the top down, working from the sights, but as you saw, I am missing the orange ring around the tritium vial in the front sight post. So I'm going to save my thoughts on that till closer to the end so you guys can actually see what happened. So since I'm skipping that, I will start with the ergonomics of this gun. It has been a while since I shot a full steel gun like this, and I have to say I am a big fan, not only of 1911s, but any steel gun for that matter. I do like polymer guns for the weight saving and carryability aspect of it, but when you get a steel gun in your hand like this thing just feels very, very balanced to me. The grip angle is great, it points very natural for me. I do like the texturing on both the front and rear. The knurling on here is not super aggressive. I would say it's more aggressive on the back than it is the front, but it does feel very comfortable in my hand. These G10 grip panels are replaceable, so you could swap those out for something else, but I do like the feeling of the G10. Now, because this thing is steel framed and it does have a very low bore axis, this thing was a pleasure to shoot actually. It has a nice beaver tail so you can get your hand up there super high, almost right in line with the barrel because it is so low. And then all of the design that went into this gun with the weight of the steel and the low bore axis, it keeps it shooting very flat as expected. With all of the unconventional design going on here, you do get this kind of weird nose up in the front. At first I wasn't a big fan of that, but aesthetically it is starting to grow on me. I think the overall lines of the gun are nice. You can get a high purchase with this undercut trigger guard here. There's really no sharp edges or anything, it's fairly smoothed out and it feels good. The slide is a little bit rounded out, but front serrations, no problem at all racking this. The recoil spring doesn't feel super tough, so part of that I like, but at the same time I'm kind of worried about the ejection pattern on this. The controls are very easy to get to. I don't want to cold slam this thing, but I can definitely get my thumb up here to release the slide. That is ambidextrous as well. And then the mag release is very positive. Metal magazines, 15 rounds. And then if you actually hold this gun upside down and release the magazine, they kind of jump out of there. So I don't think I would ever have a problem with stripping a mag from this gun. There's still a lot more to talk about on this gun and to determine if the hype is actually real for myself. So let's get back out there, roll some more clips of shooting it, and then I will come back and give you my final thoughts. just lost the orange ring on the front of this sight. Alright guys, back for my final thoughts on the Hudson H9. This entire video I have been running it in a QVO secondary holster with a Safariland QLS on here. If you've watched my channel before, you know I typically don't run a big rig like that, but this thing feels awesome on my side like that. Now before we talk about the carryability and what I could see this gun being used for, we gotta talk about both the sights and the trigger. Here's a close-up of that rear sight, but as we move forward to the front post, you will see that that orange obviously fell out on that last mag dump. Apparently this is a common issue with the sights that they chose to put on this gun, but my complaints don't really stop there. The first thing that I noticed was that when I push out onto target, we were in a very harsh light environment. The black serrated rear was working just fine, but the front post was just glaring back at me. In relatively overcast situations, or maybe in a night scenario with the tritium vial, the sights would be okay in a position like that, but yesterday they were just not to my liking. I don't think it would be too hard to put a serrated front post on there, but at the same time, these sights are gonna have to go. The rear sight is also a U-notch, which I personally don't have a big problem with, but I know people who would much prefer a square rear. Since it is a U-notch, you probably won't be able to get that pinpoint accuracy as you would with some other sights. And then another thing that I noticed when we were shooting, I'm not sure if this happened out on the range or on the way back, but somewhere the screw of this G10 panel popped out. There you can see the bottom screw in place and the top one is missing here. So if I pull on this G10 panel a little bit, it is definitely loose. How hard would it be for Hudson to put some kind of Loctite on there? Is this just a one-off thing? Maybe you guys have the H9 and yours came loose as well. And I would bet that you're probably missing your front orange sight post too, because other people have said the same. But anyway, before I keep talking about cons, let's move on to the trigger, because this is actually very nice. This is really a 1911 style trigger, but it has this kind of weird safety blade up in the front. I'm not a big fan of that, but at the same time, it's not as bad as some of the articulating triggers like I don't really like on the Smith & Wessons. Once you get that out of the way, there is a little bit of take up to the wall. Once you're on top of that wall, there is a fairly light trigger pull and a pretty crisp and clean break. The reset, I will let the trigger out. Sort of tactile, sort of audible, no complaints there. And then I'm right on top of the wall again for another break. I think this trigger was executed fairly well, but at the same time, the price point, I would like to see the tolerances a little bit tighter. There is a little bit of wiggle room on this trigger, and I'm not a huge fan of that safety blade, like I said. But the break is nice and crisp. The reset is also pretty good. And then the nice trigger coupled with the low bore axis and everything else that I talked about, I can be pretty damn accurate with this gun. Now, since this is sort of designed after the 1911, which is hammer fired, this being striker fired with a very light trigger pull like that, not my favorite thing in the world. I would like to see it maybe a little bit heavier, but that's also kind of looking at this from a carry gun perspective. If I'm carrying a striker fired pistol and there's no manual safety, just the trigger safety, I would like to see that a little bit heavier, but at the same time, would I actually carry something like this? I don't know about that. It is pretty heavy. The thing is, it is double stacked, but it still remains fairly slim, so I don't think carrying this appendix or anywhere on your waistband would be an issue. But from my perspective, I think this thing would live best in a holster on your side at the range. It does have a rail, so you could technically throw a light on here and maybe run it as a home defense pistol, but as of right now, I don't think that I would carry this gun until they come out with that lighter version. Who knows when that's gonna be out. Now, there's still a lot going on with this gun, and I probably didn't answer all of your questions or any thoughts that you might have had for myself, so if you have anything else, feel free to leave those in the comments down below. But to the main question, does this thing live up to the hype? The way the gun shoots, the way it feels in my hand, how well balanced it is, the functionality of it, it feels very great, and I want to say yes, that it does live up to the hype. But given that price tag and the two different failures that I had on here, I'm not sure that I can actually say that. If it is a known issue that these sights have problems, I would like to see that be switched out, and it probably would be on future models. And then the screw backing out of this grip panel, I'm not exactly sure how that happened, because typically your fingers or thumb will be covering that when shooting. So maybe that was a one-off thing, but at the same time, that probably should have been Loctited or something to keep it in place. I know this isn't really a definite answer. I think yes, it lives up to the hype of being a nice new modern firearm, something that can sort of take the classic 1911 and make it better. But at the same time, the price point, I don't think it is justified for myself to purchase. If this was my personal gun and I had to end up replacing that screw and the sights, I would really be unhappy with that. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Is the H9 worth the hype, the new modern 1911? I'd like to know your thoughts. I really want this gun to be good. Like, I would love to own a gun like this, but I just can't justify a purchase when things are kind of flying off it as you shoot it. So anyway, big thanks to QVO Tactical for letting me borrow this gun. If you guys need a holster for your H9, I will leave a link and a discount code in the description down below. And if you're new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe because I make new videos every week. That is going to be all for today. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.